The most popular BL web series of 2016, as well as the Wachowski siblings' best work since The Matrix. Also, 2 animations for children about fantasy with a gay twist, as well as a wonderful love story about teen love and boys falling in love innocently. More on this with a whole list of my September 2016 reviews coming up in a second here at Queer Fudanshi. Hi, my name is Devin Jackson Randall, or DGR, and welcome to Queer Fudanshi. Today is the first Monday of the month, and that means it's time, yet again, for the last month's queer reviews, or the LMQR if you're not familiar with it. So, for you guys who do not know what the LMQR is, it's where I give a list of all the reviews I did, of all the media that I talked about in the last month. The purpose of this list is usually to connect with people who are either 1, new to Queer Fudanshi and have not seen any of the videos, or 2, are skipping around and not really seeing every video or every blog post. So for those who do actually read every blog post and actually watch every video, for the video watchers, all 5 of you, hey, high five. For those of you who do, this might be some redundant information because in this video I will be sharing the premise and description of each media. In the blog post, I'll be sharing my non-spoiler thoughts about the media. And then, of course, if you want, you can go to the specific reviews of each movie, episode, blah blah blah, all that for the spoiler conversation. So with all that said, let's get talking. First, we're going to be talking about Heroine/Addicted. Heroine/Addicted is my favorite BL story out there. It is a Chinese web series about 2 high school boys, Gu Hai and Lu Yin, who meet each other. They're in the same classroom, sit right next to each other, and they instantly hate each other. They're rivals, they prank each other, they get each other in trouble, all that. And then, of course, the relationship slowly evolves. They become friends, and then they become more than friends, but less than a couple, and then they become a couple. But then, of course, there's more stuff happening. The 2 end up finding out that their parents are getting married. Gu Hai's father is getting married to Lu Yin's mother. In addition, they find out that there's a whole difference between being rich and being poor. There's the whole thought of parent to child. There's the whole conversation of can you stay friends with your friends when you are committed in a relationship. And more and all that happening in one web series of about 15 episodes. Second, we're going to be talking about doukyuusei, or Classmates. Doukyuusei, or Classmates, is a Japanese anime. It is actually first a manga, but then it changed and became an anime movie, which came out earlier this year in 2016. It even came over to the US and probably a few other countries. The story is about 2 high school students, a Sajo and a Kusakabe, in their junior and senior years together. The 2 are forced to be a part of this choir, and Sajo, the honor student who really loves his teacher and really wants to be praised by his teacher, doesn't know how to sing. He can't understand the sheet music. And so Kusakabe, who happens to be in a band, teaches Sajo, and the 2 end up getting to know each other and falling in love with each other. In addition to that, the movie really just focuses on their relationship in a year and a half or so, and really tries to understand where they're going in this relationship. It's kind of like Addicted, where it follows them as they evolve and get closer. Third is a Echo Blast that we did instead of a review. It's about Yamamoto Kotetsuko's manga. She is one of my favorite mangaka out there for yaoi/boys love comics, and I really appreciate all the manga that I put up in the list. I'm not going to do the full description of each one because this video is already going to be long enough as it is, but just heads up, Yamamoto Kotetsuko, wonderful. For manga such as Hanto Yaju, which is about a cop and the heir to a Yakuza gang, and how they somehow become the most adorable and most representative couple out there in BL comics. There is Bokura no Nagai, which is about a family, 4 brothers who one is actually married into the family, and then immediately the parents die in the first chapter, not really spoilers, and then the 4 evolve into this close-knit family and trying to roll with the punches that life has given them. So once again, go check out Yamamoto Kotetsuko. She's great. Go check her out. Next, we have Transgirlnextdoor. Transgirlnextdoor is an American webcomic created by Asian American Kylie Wu. She wanted to represent her life as a trans woman, as an Asian American woman, and by making these webcomics that she does 3 a week. She puts it up on Tumblr, and she tries to share these innocent moments about her life, about being a surfer, about being a trans woman, about her dating life, about being a woman, from everything to eating to going to the bathroom and everything in between. She is fun, funny, and light, and also serious, but with a light tone. So I definitely suggest you guys go check her out. Next we have Sense8. Sense8 is a Netflix original TV show. It is a sci-fi show about 8 individuals around the world, from countries like Kenya to the US to Mexico to South Korea and a few more, and they all find out one day that they are connected to each other's minds, thoughts, emotions, feelings, skills, and more. And then of course there is an evil corporation out to kill them because they're afraid of the future and evolution and all that. In addition to that, there is great representation in this show. There is a trans character that I believe was actually basically just a way for the Wachowskis to speak about their own experiences as being trans women. There is a lesbian relationship that is just so great. In addition, there is a gay couple that gets prominence in this show. Wonderful representation, wonderful show that keeps escalating. Go check it out. Next we have Sotus the Series. Sotus the Series is a Thai TV show. It focuses on the Sotus system, which is a real system in Thailand. It is about these freshmen who go into their university and are put through a sort of pledging/hazing system. This is supposed to introduce the freshmen to the university and university life, but also it's supposed to prepare them for events such as the Freshie Day or the Sports Day, where the freshmen go through different competitions in order to celebrate their different departments and their university as a whole. There's of course a BL twist to it, in that Artit, who is a junior and in charge of the Sotus system, he is finding some fight and some pushback to the system. And one particular student who pushes back at the beginning is Kong, who is a freshman, and the two kind of rival each other at first, but then Kong starts to fall for Artit. Artit's kind of like, I don't know what's going on, but I kind of like it, and they eventually evolve from there. It's currently airing right now, but you can watch the first 2 or 3 episodes on YouTube if you want, so go check that out. Next we have The Real O'Neills. The Real O'Neills is an American TV show. It is about the O'Neill family, an Irish-American Catholic family that were first the perfect image of what a family should be. They were on the image of the Bible Weekly. They were having events all the time at their house, but then one day everything just falls apart. It is revealed suddenly that the parents are getting a divorce. The eldest son, who is a wrestler, has anorexia. The youngest daughter, who was the perfect straight-A student, is actually a con artist. And then the middle child is, of course, gay. And so the family tries to deal with the changes that are happening with them and try to stick together and try to understand each other through these changes. It is a funny show. It is a wonderful show that I was actually suggested to by a friend, and I have to agree, it's pretty good. So go check it out if you can. Next we have Her Story. Her Story is an American web series that actually was nominated for an Emmy. The idea behind the series is that in the movie Ace Ventura, the main character finds out that he's been dating a trans woman. And the joke is that he ends up so disgusted that he throws up, takes off his clothes, throws the clothes out, burns the clothes, all that, and then runs away crying and sad, right? But the idea behind the filmmakers was, what happened to the trans person? What happened to the trans woman? What is her story? So this web series tried to focus on her story, the story of trans women and of lesbian women and their dating experiences. Specifically, the show focuses on Allie, who is a lesbian woman who tries to do a journal, she's a journalist, on trans women. She interviews people and she meets Violet and Paige, and she really starts to understand that even though she is queer and proud, she doesn't really understand trans life. There's a lot of growing in this show because of that. So go check that out if you can. It's good. On YouTube, all 6 episodes. Go check it out. Guys, we're only halfway through this video. Next we have No Thank You, the Koichi route. No Thank You is a Japanese game. It's a BL game. It's a visual novel. If you don't know what those are, a visual novel is sort of like a novel, but it has the addition of visuals, sometimes sound, and voice acting to give it a new twist. In addition, it's sort of a game. Make choices that will then create a different result at the end. And then, of course, usually that result is depending on who you pursue in a romantic sense. The specific story behind this game is that Haru has lost his memories. He saved a man, Koichi, from getting hit by a car, and he ends up getting hit himself and gets amnesia. Koichi, feeling bad, ends up getting Haru a job at his bar, which doubles as a detective agency. So then Haru, with his co-workers, does a bunch of cases, runs around, and tries to find people, tries to thwart the mafia, things like that. And in addition, he ends up falling in love with one of the men. Next we have Carmilla Season 2, Episodes 1 through 18, or Part 1. Carmilla is a Canadian web series. It's based off of an actual novel about a girl who was wooed and hunted by a vampire. And so this web series tries to modernize that by making Laura, the girl, go to a university. And so then she ends up finding out that her dorm mate one day disappears, and then Carmilla, the vampire, ends up taking her place. And so Laura, with her friends and her vlog, try to solve the mystery of the missing women. And then Laura, of course, falls in love with her vampire dorm mate. Season 2 is actually the after effects of what happened with Season 1, where the cast are really trying to keep their school going. A lot of crazy stuff is happening. Amazonian rituals, a worm is in the middle of the university, Laura and Carmilla are fighting, a bunch of crazy stuff. Go check it out if you want to. YouTube, it's all over it. Go check it out. Next we have The Way He Looks, which is a Brazilian film. The Way He Looks is actually based off of a short film which starred the same 3 main characters and 3 actors that it does in the film. The film focuses on Leonardo, a blind high schooler who is having a bunch of problems, right? He's blind, but he wants to gain his independence, but his parents are not willing. They feel bad. They want to keep him restricted so that they can keep him safe. In addition, his best friend is having troubles with him for multiple reasons. She's in love with the guy. He's in love with the same guy. It's a whole deal. It's a whole big thing. And then, of course, there is the whole fact that Gabriel, who is the new kid, is kind of in love with him, but he doesn't realize it. It's a whole thing. It's a great movie, so go check it out. Next we have Aitsu No Daihomei. Aitsu No Daihomei is a Japanese comic book, a BL, a yaoi. It is about Yoshida, who is a high school student who is hated by all the girls in the school. They call him ugly, they call him monkey with the squinted eyes, things like that. And the reason that they all hate him is because Sato, the most attractive guy in school, ends up liking him, and he spends all his time with Yoshida. Yoshida doesn't realize that it's in a romantic sense. He doesn't understand why Sato bullies him, sticks around him, and all that, until he realizes later that they actually have a past history. No spoilers, figure that out yourself, read the comic. It's an interesting story basically about a sadist who ends up falling in love with a guy who pushes back at him, which makes the sadist want to push even more. Next we have Lovesick the Series Season 1. Lovesick the Series Season 1 is a Thai TV show about the 2 boys, high school boys, who fall in love. Specifically No and Foon. Probably saying those names wrong, I forget how to pronounce them. Foon finds out that his father wants him to start dating the daughter of a friend. He knows that his little sister has some leeway with his father, and so he tries to get her to think that he's dating someone. Thing is, she's a Fujoshi, she likes boys' love. So he thinks, if I date a boy, then she'll talk to dad and I don't have to date the girl, right? The thing is, he asks his classmate No, and No's like, I need money for the student council. By the way, Foon is student council secretary. And they make an arrangement to pretend that they are dating. And of course, in BL faction, they end up falling in love. It's a sweet story about the innocence of youth and falling in love for the first time. Next we have The Outless, which is an HBO movie. It is a documentary which asks several celebrities and some random laymen about life as queer people, and also gay marriage, which at the time the movie was created, was not legal across the United States of America. And the film really just depicts these people's stories, shares some of their accomplishments and events, and really what shows a sort of depiction of what it's like to be queer in America. So if you have an hour, go check that out. It's on HBO and Netflix and probably other sites like that. Next we have Katakoi Opera. Katakoi Opera is a Japanese comic book, a BL. It focuses on the lives of high school students. Akuta has been best friends with these two twins, these two very dark, stylish, model-esque twins all his life. And mind you, he's like the short, cinnamon bun, happy type character. And Akuta falls in love very easily all the time, and he always gets dumped, or he always has an unrequited love. And then Al, one of the twins, the male twin, is secretly pining for Akuta for years, and is always there to lend an open hold and hug whenever Akuta is feeling sad. So, of course, as years go by, Al has been feeling worse and worse, and eventually his feelings just explode and drama happens. So go check that out. It's only about 3.5 chapters. Next we have Rosaline and The Bravest Knight Who Ever Lived. These are two separate animation shorts, but they're so similar that I'm pushing them together. Rosaline is about a normal town girl who ends up going on an adventure somewhat like Little Red Riding Hood. She goes in a forest, has different obstacles in her way, a witch who wants to give her an apple, a wolf who wants to eat her, a fairy godmother who wants to give her a magical night, things like that. And Rosaline keeps going. Just because you expect the story to go one way does not mean it's going to. My story goes a different way. In addition, there is The Bravest Knight Who Ever Lived, which is about Cedric the Knight. He is raised as a pumpkin farmer's son. He eventually becomes a knight. He goes off on adventures and one day finds a dragon castle. He saves the prince and princess. And then at the end, he decides, I am going to be brave and decide how my story ends. Both are interesting animations that are only about 6 minutes long, if that. They are very short and sweet, and I suggest you guys go check them out. Lastly, and I promise lastly, we have Totally Captivated. Totally Captivated, this was actually an Echo Blast, not a review. I did do a review of Volume 1 way at the beginning of the creation of my blog, but I have not reviewed anything else. This was just an Echo Blast to let you guys know that this exists, and it is my favorite BL comic. It is about Iwon Jung, who is a university student who has a bit of a cheating problem. He likes to look certain ways, he's very curious, and then one day he cheats on his boyfriend. And so his boyfriend gets all mad, starts talking to him. Iwon's texting him all the time, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I'm bad, I know, blah blah. One day he finds the ex-boyfriend with Mukyul, who ends up beating up Iwon Jung. And then Iwon Jung says, I'll do anything, please. And Mukyul decides to take him in as a new housemaid, office maid for his business, aka his mafia headquarters. And so this starts a relationship between the two. Mukyul finds interest in Iwon Jung, and they end up falling in love. So basically, this is a story about two guys who cheat on the same person and fall in love. That poor person. But that is it for this last month's queer reviews for September 2016. If you have actually watched any of these media or read any of these media, make sure to say in the comments below which ones you have watched. Share some of your thoughts so that others who have not watched them know if they are good or not and all that. And of course, as always, make sure to like this video if you liked it. Please, it was so long to make. And then make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Queer Fudanshi tries to share LGBT media through news, reviews, lists, and good conversation. So let's get talking. Bye.